Additional aids and services are available to individuals with disabilities. To make such a request, please contact us by email, by clicking the Help tab in the PD portal, or at pdportal@tamu.edu, by phone, including Relay Texas at 1-800-441-7323, or in writing to Train PD, PD Portal Support, 4477 TAMU, College Station, Texas 77843. Both a transcript and accessible document of the content presented in this webinar can be found as resources in the course description. Click on the blue links under Course Resources in the description. When a link is clicked, a new browser window will open.
So welcome to Workforce Wednesday, everybody. Career Exploration Step 2. Our presenters today are Victoria Hinojosa and Alexandra Howard, and I'm going to share a little bit about them shortly. So at this time, I want to welcome our presenters. So our first presenter today is Victoria Hinojosa, and Victoria has a passion for helping people find their professional paths and has spent 10 years assisting individuals with job preparation and career exploration. And she spent over 8 years working for the Career Services Office at Texas State, not only helping college students prepare for professional jobs, but also creating professional development opportunities for student workers, staff under her supervision. So in her current role as a career navigator for Workforce Solutions, she works closely with adult education and literacy programs in the Houston-Galveston region to create presentations and workshops to assist AL students in mastering the English language, preparing for the job search, and finding their career paths. Victoria is a graduate of Texas State University with a BA in Mass Communication. So welcome, Victoria. We also have our presenter, Alexandra Howard, and Alexandra Howard is a member of the Texas Gulf Coast Regional Navigator Team for Workforce Solutions. She collaborates with community partners in the Houston-Galveston region to educate and support Workforce Solutions staff, adult learners, and job seekers advancing career growth and academic mobility opportunities. She has prior job experience in recruiting on behalf of employers and candidates. She has a contemporary understanding of the skill set job seekers provide and the talent employers seek in today's job market in supporting a successful adult education and literacy integration project. So she's has her bachelor in business administration and management with a minor in marketing and business communication. And she's currently pursuing a master's in public administration from Sam Houston State University. And during her free time, you might find her on a mission trip, hiking, traveling, learning, and spending time with her dog Thaddeus, friends and family. So welcome, Alexandra. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to our presenters. So Victoria, Alexandra, take it away.
So welcome everyone. Welcome to Career Exploration Step 2. What are my options? I am Victoria Hinojosa, and you just met Alexandra Howard. So take it away, Alex. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Victoria. And thank you, Olga, for the introductions. I really appreciate that. And so some of the things that we're going to be talking about today is Career Exploration Step 2. And so we're going to talk about Step 2 of career exploration and planning. We're also going to help create a clear understanding of what labor market information is and kind of define it a little bit. You might have heard of this as LMI information. And so we really want to create that foundation so that when you go back out to your classes and talk about LMI to your students, we have some additional resources for you. We're going to talk about how you can use and explore LMI to look at different career options. And then at the end, we'll have some tools and resources that you can apply in the classroom, which I'm really excited. We have a student activity, a worksheet that we're going to be having a handout for you at the end of this presentation. And then we also even have a resource guide that will have some additional LMI online resources that you can use, and we'll share that with you. So Victoria, I'm going to go ahead and let you do an overview of this career planning process that we've developed. I'm super excited to be here and go over career exploration with you all.
Yay. Okay. Thank you, Alex. So there are lots of career planning models out there, and most range between 3 and 5 steps, but we're going to focus on a 4-step model because of the strong emphasis on self-discovery and career exploration. So today we're going to take those assessments And we're going to dive a little bit more into step 2, which is what are my options. So from that assessment, we're going to show you some career matches and then all the really cool ways to explore different careers based off of students' assessments and learn more about what those options look like. Then in step 3, now it's all about planning your career. How do I get there? So we have some guides or some worksheets that we're developing to help students really start and plan and set their goals, their SMART goals, their short-term goals, and their long-term goals, and really map it out. And then also lean on Workforce Solutions as a really great resource. And then in step 4, it's all about activating your plan. How do I gain experience? So one of the cool things about Workforce Solutions is that we offer different opportunities like internships, on-the-job training, and work-based learning, those types of programs to help people gain some real experience so that they have that experience. Maybe it's a new career that they're embarking on, and so they need that professional experience in order to really land a good full-time professional position. So those are the things that we're going to explore in step 4. So lots of really fun things that we're going to be discussing. So real quickly, we're going to give you a brief overview of self-discovery, step 1. And so the way we're going to do this is one of the websites that we really like is called Career One Stop. I'm sure you've heard of it. This is a really great resource. It has a lot of fantastic assessment. So it's not just the interest assessment, which we're about to show you right now, but it also has a values analyzer. It has a skills analyzer test. So great opportunities to help students really start to understand themselves and help them make really good career choices. Without further ado, we're going to go through this real quick. And here we go. So explore careers, then go to interest assessment. And then if you just scroll down a little bit in the middle of the page, you can see the interest assessment. You're going to click on that. And this is a pretty short version. It's only 30 questions. And if you're familiar with ONET, it's the mini version of the ONET test. And so real quick, I would just go through this, click the things that you find are interesting. You want to tell your students, don't think about it too long. If it sounds appealing or interesting to you, then click yes. And if it's not something you like doing, then click no. Some of them I strongly like, and some of them I just liked. And the same thing with the dislike section. And so we should be almost finished with this. Like I said, it's only 3 pages, so it's 30 questions. It doesn't take very long to do. And some of this stuff I just found interesting. I've never predicted weather before, but hey, why not? Sounds interesting. Okay, so now we should get our results. Okay, so here's the results. So the really cool thing is now we've taken the test, we've gotten our results, and this test, this interest test, and all those interest tests that are available online are based on something called the RIASEC test. So RIASEC stands for realistic, I is for investigative, A is for artistic, S is for social, E is for enterprising, and C is for conventional. So you can see that the highest score for me is social, followed by artistic, and then I'm tied for enterprising and investigative. So this code, your students can take this code and they can actually apply it once they've taken the test, no matter where they take the test. I think they can go in and they can put those same numbers into other tests, other platforms, for example, My Next Move, or even My Texas Career, and then they can see the same data show up for them in those systems. And it's really a cool thing to do because all of these platforms have something unique about them. So the thing about My Texas Career is you're going to see your level of matches like you're seeing here. But the thing about in My Texas Career is it also gives you a list of actual job openings for each one of those occupations. So that's just another really cool thing that you can share with your students so they can actually do some career exploration or job search based off of their RIASEC codes. So that is, we're going to come back to this in just a second. But I just wanted to give you, a brief overview of what the RIASEC code is. And now you see that we have a list of matches, and there's 91 potential career opportunities for me based on my assessment results. Okay, so now let's go into LMI, and career exploration. So now we're going to take that deeper dive into how labor market information can benefit your students when they're doing career exploration. So real quick, the thing you want to reiterate to your students is that labor market information, or LMI, is employment data. It's the wages, the job openings, the future job projections, and education. And that future job projections is pretty important, actually, because there are a lot of jobs right now, that we'll see in just a second, that they may pop up often, but what's interesting is because of technology and because of all, because so many things are developing so fast in our world right now, the technological advances are the fastest I've ever seen. Historically, they're the fastest that's ever been. So with that being said, jobs and careers are changing rapidly to keep up with the demand, and things, as you know, are disappearing, and new jobs are being created. So we really want to pay attention to that, because let's take a look at my results one more time. So we saw that we have 91 careers, and guess what? Look what's top of the list: adult basic education.
We did this just for this webinar.
Right.
So everyone's in the same boat. We know we like adult education.
Well, so obviously I'm in the right field, so it
Right.
showed up right on my list. We're going to take a look at this. We're going to click on it, and so this is now we're diving into the labor market information. So this is what it is. It's going to show us what the job looks like, what the career looks like. There's a great video that students can watch. Again, it shows you all the different titles for this particular occupation. It's going to show you what they do, and there's more. Then I want you to take a look at this. So the outlook for this position is a little cloudy. It's a little below average. And if you look over here to the right, the projected employment in Texas within 10 years from 2018 to 2028, it's still going to increase by up to 5%, is what they're projecting. But for whatever reason, nationally, it's on the decline. So it's very interesting. And again, that's something that we want students to pay attention to, because you want them to go into a career that's going to have a lot of potential. Even though it shows up on their list of matches, the chances of getting funding, financial aid for positions that have a high or good outlook, they're considered high skill, high growth occupations, are the ones that we really want to steer our students into, because again, there's financial aid opportunities for those in particular. Okay, so let's keep looking at the breakdown of this position. So of this type of job. So for adult education and literacy instructors, you could see the range of salary depending. It shows you the education and experience requirements, usually a bachelor's degree. And then there's also programs that interested parties can investigate for education and training. Then over here, it talks about certifications and possible licenses, apprenticeships, and again, the typical education. Now, I know if you've explored My Next Move or even My Texas Career or ONET online, they all have some kind of breakdown of this information. And we just liked the way this one looked. It was very easy to read. It was really, it's very user friendly. And so this is why we chose to show you this version.
And Victoria, I want to stop you for 1 second. I see
Yeah.
Maria in the chat box. She put a sad face because we said, adult education has a little bit of a cloudy employment projection. But if we go back, I think it's 2 slides.
Yeah.
In Texas, it's actually 5%. What was it? A 5% increase there, even though the national average shows a decrease. Specifically in Texas, there is it's projected to stay at a 5% of an increase. So don't be too sad. But I think it's also important to identify this information with LMI, is because what are things that we can be doing within our expertise and our skills to stay above the curve. So even if we do see that projection, maybe in 5 to 10 years of the decrease, if it's because of technology, what can we be incorporating within our classes, within our teaching practices to stay on top of that curve and the changes that might be coming? And so this is something that students can also think about when they're picking a career path. And if they do see a projection that is maybe it's a slow rise, maybe that they're able to identify the growth or the decrease and that reason why it's going to grow or decrease, and see how they can gain the skills or the tools necessary to stay above that curve. So I did want to point out that in the chat, because we didn't want to bring you bad news, but we do want to, be able to identify those. We want to be in the know. It's better
Right.
to know that it's going to increase or decrease rather than, 5 years later and you're in the middle of it, of the career not being existent. So.
Well, and maybe the decrease is due to the fact that people are graduating from high school and they don't need to come back and get their GED,
Yeah, that's good.
Let's just be hopeful. Keep your fingers crossed.
Well, see, my theory, we were talking about this. My theory is due to technology.
Yeah.
Because just the amount of apps and the artificial intelligence that they do have being developed. Of course, we're not there yet, but we all know we've seen the different, Duolingo, or different apps where people can speak to the app and learn a language. And so just like I said, finding different ways that we can stay ahead of the curve and incorporate the tools and skills that we need to know what we need to do to stay in the career path that we like. So that's my theory. Of course, it's the technology route, but
it seems, that theory seems to go with the current trend. So I don't disagree. Hey, look at chat for me, because I'm seeing a lot of chat activity. Anybody have any comments?
So do you think it's partly cloudy because of the part-time nature of the job?
It's entirely possible, but I think it's partly cloudy because the demand for the teachers may not be as high. And I think that might be due to having if we're doing virtual presentations or virtual classes, a lot more people can come into those. I think maybe that's part of the issue. Who knows? I think Alex is right, though. Technology tends to be the real reason why jobs go away.
And the other thing that we talked about when it came to supply and demand is that when it comes specifically to GED and ESL classes, there's a group of students that might prefer face-to-face. Mm-hmm. And then since we were, transitioned to go virtual, some of the students, it may not have been the best environment for them. Whereas some of them, like the internationally trained professionals, they might have preferred the virtual setting and jumping on in the evening. So like you did mention the supply and demand, where we might have the teachers, but the students, are we being able to, match what their need might be based on that? So I'm curious to see how that changes in the future.
Okay, so now we're going to do labor market information, back to the future activity. So what we want to do is just help students recognize how this labor market information affects jobs. And just as we're talking about how adult education and literacy instructors seem to be on the decline, that's part of labor market information. So with that, let's take a look at the first question. Let's talk about jobs that no longer exist or have significantly decreased over the years. So the first one is gas station attendant. So tell me what you think. Name some other ones for us.
We have travel agents in a travel office.
Movie theater usher, telephone operator.
Elevator operator. Mm-hmm.
Yes, excellent.
So our second question is actually very similar to the first, but we want you to think about this. What jobs that are available now, but may not be significantly, or that may be significantly reduced or eliminated in the future? So we'll give you the first example. I see that Jason was a little bit ahead of the schedule here, but the example that we have is cashiers. I'm sure we've all experienced this whenever we go into Walmart or Target, we get ready to check out and we get to the register and there's no live person there. And so we're forced to go to self-checkout. So what are some other roles that are either being significantly reduced or are going to be eliminated in the near future?
I think the self-checkout lines are about to be eliminated too, because everybody's checking out on their phones nowadays.
We have live customer service reps. And I think some of the ones that people said earlier for the first part, it can apply to this section as well. But we have mailman in the chat.
So, I'm sorry. We actually had cashier written down too. So excellent. So then the last one category that we want to bring up is jobs you foresee growing in the future. So one that's actually predicted to grow is interpreters and translators. Even though we have those apps, there's reason to believe that this is still a necessity in business transactions. But what's another one that you see on the horizon?
Well, they're coming in fast. Let's see. We have software developers. Software developers, programmers. Data security is definitely going to be another field that's going to rise. Financial technology, healthcare.
So a lot of really cool jobs are coming our way. Yeah. So a lot of good stuff. So there's a lot of potential out there. Things are still, it's just transition. We're always in a state of transition, which means education is really important.
And that's what I love about these questions here is because, as you're looking, or as a student is looking through the results, or as they're looking at the different career paths that they match with, they can ask themselves these questions to see, does this seem like it's going to grow? Just so they can have that idea in mind before they start to compare it to things that are of the high skill, high growth list that we're going to talk about in the next slide.
Well, as a matter of fact, let's just go ahead and talk about it because that's a great idea.
Yes, absolutely. So after the student gets the results, I think we find it very beneficial to not only just find out the information, look at the projection and the growth, the growth and the wages, but also compare it to resources that say what is the average or what's to be expected in the near future. And so one of the resources that we have identified to be helpful is the high skill, high growth for your region. And so some of the things that the high skill, high growth list identifies is employment projections for over a 10-year range. It can identify education and planning and even the credential expectations for that occupation. It also identifies the salary and compensation ranges. And I like to say the more important one when it comes to the student benefit is possibly identifying workforce solution financial aid opportunities based off the occupations that are on this list. So we just want to encourage you to locate or reach out to your nearest workforce solutions office for your region, and you can request the high skill, high growth list so that your students can have it available. You can have a copy, and that way, whenever they do get their results from Career One Stop, they can see, were any of the occupations on that result list on the high school, high growth list, and can I potentially apply for financial aid assistance for that career education requirements or career goals. And so we just wanted to show you an example of what the list might look like, just because there's so many different resources out there. And one thing I was telling Victoria when we were creating this presentation is that LMI information, labor market information, can tend to feel a little bit overwhelming. I know I've had many students tell me that, man, there's just so much to look at. I'm going to get down a rabbit hole. So we really wanted to just identify or solidify some items that would be most resourceful. Of course, Career One Stop is very user-friendly, but also to cross-reference those results to a reliable source is also important. And as you can see, there's multiple career paths. This is just a little snippet of what it looks like, but do reach out to your local workforce office for your region, and this is a list that you can obtain. But we're in Gulf Coast region, and so definitely this is what ours looks like. But Victoria, is there something that you wanted to add?
I was just going to back up what you were just saying. This is specific to our region. Every region should have a high skill, high growth list. Or I think you can look at TWC's website to find what are the high skill, high growth jobs in your area. But contact your workforce solution office. That's their business. They should know.
All righty. So we're going to keep moving forward, and we're going to talk about how you can incorporate the information that we covered into the classroom. We wanted to not only show you a couple resources, but also kind of map out if you wanted to use the worksheet that we're going to provide to you all in the classroom. We're just going to cover that briefly. So let's look at the student activity. Of course, the first thing we would encourage is to have the student to take the Career One Stop assessment or the ONET Online assessment, and then have them identify the top 3 occupations that they match with. And then this is where the worksheet would come into play to look at the LMI research. So then they would put in the top occupation that they're interested in, the median or average salary that is listed for that occupation, and what are some of the things that a person in this occupation will be doing. And would this be a good match for them in their career interest or path, personally or professionally? Is this really a career that they're interested in? They can note that in that section. But my favorite part of this worksheet is actually the education and training section, because this is really where they start to formulate how can they get into this occupation. So based on that research or the LMI information, they can put, is a degree required for this occupation? Does it require a certification or a license? What community partners offer this training? And even some stuff at the bottom that they can know is how long will it take to get this degree or certification? What is the cost? And how do I plan to pay for it? So we do encourage to search for financial aid opportunities. They can always speak to a Workforce Solutions office to see if this occupations could possibly make them eligible for financial aid. But this is just a really good way to work it into the classroom. Because like I said earlier, labor market information, there's so many different resources that you can use. It can tend to feel very dense. And so just being able to sit down and identify one occupation and actually do the research on that occupation will be very good in helping them make an informed career decision on which route they want to take. So let's look at, we did a brief overview of class activity, the assessment, getting the results, but we want to talk about where can you actually go to find LMI information. Like I said, it's very dense. There's many resources that are out there that offer this employment data, but we wanted to identify the ways that you might search for employment data. So there's national information available. You can search based off state level or even local or regional, the region that you're in, and even industry specific. And so the ones that we've identified to be accurate or to be backed with the information that they're providing people is the list that we have here for you. And so this is My Texas Career, Texas Workforce Commission, Bureau of Labor Statistics, ONET, Career One Stop, the high skill, high growth list in your region. And then even, reaching out to your workforce office, they'll also be able to provide some specific labor market information based on your local area. And we're going to talk about one in particular that we wanted to highlight, which is the Texas Workforce Commission. They actually have a labor market information page that I would encourage you all to explore. Yeah. We have a link in our resource guide that we're going to provide you of the different things that we identified in this webpage in particular that we would encourage you to check out.
Yeah, just real curious though, how many of you have actually explored the labor market information that's on the TWC website? Because that's incredible. The amount of information and the ways that you can incorporate that not only for your students, but also for employers. If you want to reach out to employers in your area, you can, there's so much information. It is dense. It is incredible what TWC has put for their labor market information section on their website. It's impressive, very impressive.
And so we have Maria, she's raising her hand. She's seen it before. And so there's like Victoria said, it can get pretty dense. It's a very interactive website. That's what I personally like about it, that it has some interactive features that you can use, such as the job seeker tab. There's a data library, online services, and a high growth report. But let's look at the job seeker tab. So if you do decide to explore this and you want your students to click on the webpage, this is what the first thing that they're going to see if they click the job seeker webpage. And so it's actually how many jobs are available or projected to grow. They can look at wage information, the employers in the area that they're in, any economic profiles in their region. And so this is just a quick snippet of the TWC page. We do have a lot of resources in the resource guide, but we just wanted to do an overview for you. And just so you know that there are some key resources on these different online websites. And so the last thing we're going to talk about is we want you to save a copy of the resource guide, just because we're going to keep saying this, labor market information is very valuable. I think one thing that I was telling Victoria is it's one thing to get this research and to sit on it, but we really want to have this information so that students can make a informed decision, because we just don't want to gather it and be like, oh, I know this about this occupation I'm interested in. But if we don't use it, then, what good is it just to know this information? And so on the resource guide, we've put some valuable online resources and some PDF documents that you can share with your students, or if you want to go through them and identify maybe the top 3 that you want to share, we definitely just wanted to provide that information for you. And so I think Victoria, she's going to go ahead and wrap up everything and just re-summarize labor market information.
Okay, so again, let's revisit what we've talked about. So step 1 is taking that interest assessment. And then step 2 is use LMI to explore your career matches. So from those assessments, you have a list of matches, you click on those, and your students can really look into those career opportunities and see, okay, is this going to be good for me? Does this sound like something I'd be really interested in? And then narrow down those options using that student activity form or something similar. If you want to make up your own, that's fine. We highly recommend it, but just give your students some kind of guide to really help them map it out, think it through. What's the earning potential for this occupation versus this one over here? Is this something I really want to do? And then the next step, once they start looking at these to really narrow something down, get them to talk to Workforce Solutions and see about maybe doing job shadowing if they could, because Workforce Solutions has connections with all these different employers. Maybe they could work with one of the business consultants at Workforce Solutions to get a job shadowing opportunity. And what does that mean? It means that they have it prearranged with an employer where they can meet with somebody at the company who is in the role that they hope to be in one day, and just kind of interview them, talk to them, follow them around a little bit, see what it looks like to be in that role, in that occupation. So it's something that we've done with college students. I've heard about it with adults too. So there's no reason why we couldn't work together to create something like that, a job shadowing opportunity for our students. It never hurts to ask, and again, that would also help solidify those 3 choices. So if they were able to narrow it down to 3 and they're just like, I really don't know, I kind of want to see this firsthand, encourage them to talk to Workforce Solutions about setting up a job shadowing opportunity. I don't see why not. And then again, have them cross-reference those career options that they're looking at with your local high skill, high growth occupation list, so that whatever's on that high skill, high growth occupation list, I know in our region, Workforce Solutions is able to offer a financial aid package for the high skill, high growth occupations. So it's a great idea to get them moving in that direction. So it's, yes, you found a really great career. It's going to be a rewarding career, but let's make sure that it's going to be a good career that's going to offer a lot of growth, financial security, and stability. So with that reason, you want to cross-reference with your high skill, high growth list in your area. And then last, do you have any questions for us?
Ms. Margie said, when do you recommend these workforce lessons be presented to students?
I would say early on with your GED classes, because we have an ITech plan form that each student fills out. And so it just kind of helps figure out where they are in their education and training goals. So if they're not sure, or maybe this is a great idea to confirm it, get them going immediately. There's no reason to wait on this. Go ahead, even with your ESL students, especially the internationally trained professionals who are having to come to grips with the realization that they're not going to be able to practice that same career in the United States because the licensing might be just ridiculously expensive to obtain.
Right.
So they may need to find an alternative career choice. So this is a great thing to do with those students as well. So for your GED students, with your ESL students, I would say don't waste time on it. It's something that can be done early.
And she said, yes, they'd use the ITech form as well for ESL and HSC students.
Very, very good. So yeah, and I would advise, referring back to that ITech form with your students too, having them compare, okay, this is what you said initially. Now you're going through this process. Is this something are you changing those goals? And then maybe right before they leave your program, verify one more time, have your goals changed?
And she said, I love it. It makes the GED acquisition as a first step so obvious.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So, and then it just helps motivate them. And that's the other thing. And especially with your GED students, you want to keep the motivation going, right? So if you can help them to see, hey, it's not just the GED, but that certification. Plan it out. See, what do you want to do? If they see all those different matches for themselves, and they realize, oh, there's a lot of potential for me. How do I get there? And you help them discover that it's obtainable, and we can create those short-term, very obtainable goals that might set them up to something bigger down the road. And I think I am actually a huge advocate of doing this with their GED HSE students, because this is going to keep them motivated. It helps them to understand, okay, there is a lot in this for me. It's a great way to get them to really buy into the programs, buy into, getting those IETs, and then advancing into maybe an associate's or a bachelor's degree down the road. So
we also have another comment in the chat by Dr. Ogla. It is the first step, not the end.
Exactly. So it doesn't matter what age they come to us to get their high school equivalency. The point is to keep them motivated and help them understand it doesn't matter. You still have a life to live, and you can start over, create a new career path for yourself. The world is their oyster. They just have to move forward with it. And I think that this is one of those really cool exercises that can be done to help motivate them and like I said, keep them engaged with the program. So great question.
We have another question. Do you think 4 hours would be enough for all 4 steps? I'm thinking 2 each equaling 8 hours.
Yeah, I think 4 hours would be more than sufficient, because you want to give them time. I would give them homework, in fact, giving them time to research and to really think about things and let them digest it. So absolutely, break it up, give them some homework, have them do some research, or give them class time to research, whatever. But yeah, absolutely. And then digest it and think about it. And then because this next step 3 is going to be pretty intensive. It's a lot of planning. It's a lot of trying to figure out what's going to be the right road for me, and also helping them identify obstacles. So yeah, absolutely. I think 4 hours is plenty of time to get this done if you want to do it right.
Thank you so much, Victoria and Alexandra. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for all of your questions and your comments and your participation. We appreciate that. And again, we do appreciate the expertise of our Workforce Solutions Gulf Coast Region College Navigator. So thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
We hope you enjoyed this pre-recorded webinar. After you have passed the final test with a score of 80% or greater and have received your certificate of completion, please take a few moments to complete the course evaluation. Participant feedback helps Train PD at TCAL continue to provide high-quality professional development. To leave a course feedback, please go to the completed portion of your transcript. To do this, hover over the My Learning tab and select View Your Transcript. Click on the drop-down arrow next to the word Active and select Completed. Then, click Evaluate in the drop-down menu next to the course you just completed. Please note that your feedback is greatly appreciated.